class, we're going to talk about objectives and values. So you're going to watch a video. You're going to learn some concepts related to objectives and values. And at the end, you will have an individual activity to do and an activity that you have to do in teams. So the company needs to turn its mission into detailed supporting objectives. What is that? You already know why you created your company for, you know the problem that you're solving, you know how you're going to solve it, but you have to give specific details of how you're going to get or achieve these goals. If we're talking about a company, okay, the objectives, they have to focus on all the areas that you have in a company. So that means each manager is going to have different objectives. The financial manager has to achieve financial objectives. The human resources manager will have to achieve some objectives related, okay, to the way that employees should work in a company. And if you're talking about the sales manager, okay, he or she has to achieve objectives related to sales, and so on for each of the areas. But what is an objective? Okay, objectives are the purposes that we want to reach. Okay, that means that if I want to be the company that everybody knows, or in my community is known by everybody, if the product that I'm selling is known by a lot of people, then I have to say how I'm going to get to that point. What is my purpose of that? So if I want to get to that point, I will have to write objectives, okay, that will take me to that point. Why are they important? Also because we make a list of expectations and wants. So if I expect to be the company #1 in my community or in my city or in my country or in the world, I will have to give or specify which are the expectations that I have. Okay, how am I going to get there? Because if I say that my objective is to be the #1 company, it's not easy to define that. Okay, but it's not #1 related to what. So that's why your objectives are going to give you a specific detail of what you have to do to achieve that goal. And also, okay, the objectives include a specific step that you have to take in order to accomplish your goals. So if you have those objectives and you work for them, at the end, you will accomplish your goals. Talking about SMART objectives, it means that when you write them, okay, you have to be very specific. Okay, you have to be able to know when you read an objective what you have to do. So they have to focus on a result. It's like I told you, if you say that you want to be the company #1, okay, it's going to be hard for your employees and for you, okay, to know how to get to that point and be #1. So focus on a result. Okay, it would be better to say that you want to increase your sales in this year by 20%. So that's something that it's a result and not an activity. Okay, so you have to be consistent, and for that, okay, that's why we call them SMART objectives. Why SMART? Okay, the S is because they have to be specific. Imagine that you're going to run a marathon. Okay, so you're training to run a marathon, and you did that 2 years ago. Your time was probably 4 hours. It took you 4 hours to run a marathon. So if you want to run next year, okay, another marathon, and you specify your objectives, okay, in this way to be specific, that would mean that you have to say, run a marathon in less time than I did in the previous one. So that's being specific, okay? Being specific would be better if you say, I want to run a marathon in 1 hour less than I did it the last time. So you have to specify exactly what you want. The M of SMART, okay, it's because they have to be measurable. So as I told you in your marathon objective, okay, to be measurable, it means that you have to give a time. Okay, I have to run the marathon in 30 minutes less than the previous time, in 1 hour less than the previous time. So you're giving a number, and that's going to be the one that you're going to be able to measure your objective with. The A, okay, in SMART is because it has to be action oriented. Okay, is to get to a point, okay, you need actions. Okay, so what you have to do is use verbs. Okay, run a marathon. Okay, sell 1,000 products more than last year. So you need a verb. It has to be action oriented. The R, okay, the R is for realistic. If you ran a marathon 2 years ago and it took you 4 hours, okay, I think it's not going to be realistic if you say that you're going to run next year's marathon in 1 hour and a half. Okay, that won't be realistic. So you have to be realistic and think, okay, about the resources that you have, the capacity that you have, and that's the way that your objectives are going to be realistic. And the T, that is the last letter, okay, it has to be time bound. What is that? You have to specify by which time in the future you will have to achieve that objective. So for example, run a marathon in 2 hours and a half in 2016. So it won't take me more than that day. Okay, that's my limit time to run a marathon in the time that I'm specifying. So these are the characteristics that you have to keep in mind when you are writing your objectives for them to be correct objectives, or them to be the ones that you could achieve. So we have some examples. Sell 250 gancitos in January 2016. So sell, you have the verb, that's the action. You have a number, 250, so you can measure that. And you have the time bound, okay, it's 2016, January 2016. Another example, you can hire 30 new employees. You have the measure there. And it has to be done by December 2015. So again, okay, you're giving a limit, so that's the correct objective. Or increase, okay, that's another action, that's a verb, in 10%, so you're going to be able to measure that, the sales of Coca during the summer of 2016. So again, you have the 3 characteristics that you need to include in an objective for it to be SMART. They are specific. Okay, you understand what you have to do. They are measurable. Okay, they are also action oriented. You have a verb in each of them. You have also the R, okay, to be realistic. In this one, okay, it's probably that you need more information or background information to know if they are going to be achievable. But imagine that I told you, okay, I'm going to sell 2 million gancitos. Okay, so if I'm starting a company, okay, that won't be realistic. And they are also in the T, okay, that remember you have the time there, okay, you have the time limits. So these are examples of correct objectives. So when you write the objectives in your company, you have to keep in mind all these characteristics. Talking about values, the values in a company, what is a value? Okay, so the concept is that it's something that represents the ideology. It's the core values, okay, it's the principal, which are the principal values that you have in your company, and the principles. For example, I worked for Walmart a few years ago, and they had as one of the core values in the company that they had to treat their employers with dignity. So we knew as employees that we were important for the company, so that feeling of being important for the company, it was supposed to help us, okay, in some way that our customers, okay, the people that went, okay, to our stores, they were, or they felt really good in the store because we also were happy working for Walmart because we were treated in a dignity or with dignity. So that's the way, okay, that if you define a value, okay, that's going to give you the ideology of your company. Why are they important? Because they are the soul of the company. Okay, if you think about the employees in Walmart, okay, if they are treated with dignity, then, okay, how do you think they're going to treat the customers? So that's why they are so important. If you want your employees to be honest, okay, what they're going to do is they're going to be honest with your customers. And if you're honest with your customers, okay, they will come back to your company and pay for your service again or buy your products again. And some of the examples that you can include are the ones that you can see here. Okay, so these are just some examples. You don't have to include exactly these ones. If you have a different one and you want to use it, that's okay. Okay, but these are some of the examples you can use. So guys, okay, this is what you need to know. You have some examples. For example, in Microsoft, it's a company that it says, as a company and as individuals, we value integrity, honesty, openness, personal excellence, constructive self-criticism, continual self-improvement, and mutual respect. So this is kind of general, okay, but if you go deeper into Microsoft, okay, you will find the way that they are working with these values inside their company and also outside the company. That means with their customers. So if you know that in Microsoft, okay, they hire honest employees, then you as a customer, okay, will choose Microsoft because you know that they are honest. Okay, or if they, you know, they are continually improving their processes or their methods or whatever their products, okay, then okay, you will also feel confident that this is a company that is going to give you the best of software in these times. Another example is the one that we have from Grupo Modelo. It's in Spanish, okay, because it's a Mexican company, but we have honestidad, lealtad, respeto. And they describe the way that they work with these values. For example, actuamos con rectitud e integridad, manteniendo un trato equitativo con todos nuestros semejantes. So these are examples of values that some of the companies that we have nowadays in the market express the values, okay, that they work with. So guys, what you have to do today is individually, okay, decide on some objectives that I'm going to show you if they are SMART or not. What is that? Okay, if they are specific, if they are measurable, if they are action-oriented, if they are realistic, and if they have a time limit. So you're going to copy the objectives that I'm going to show you in the next slide, and you're going to write next to the objective if it's a SMART objective, okay, you write yes. If it's not, okay, you just write no, or you cross it out, whatever you want. What you have to do, guys, is your paper, okay, leave it in my office, you put it under my door, and that's going to count as your attendance to the class, okay? If you have no time tomorrow, if you couldn't or you can't do it, okay, then you can do it on Thursday, okay? Go to my office and just leave your exercise there, but it has to be before Friday's class. And as I told you at the beginning, oh, well, sorry, these are the objectives. I'm going to leave them here for a few seconds so you can copy them. If you need to pause the video, okay, for you to copy them, okay, that's okay. And the teamwork that you have to do is write at least 5 objectives for your company. Okay, at least it means, guys, okay, that it's the minimum objectives. Okay, if you write 3 objectives, that's not enough. They have to be at least 5. And of course, think about being SMART objectives. They have to be related to all the areas in your company. Okay, not all of them related to sales, or not all of them related, okay, to human resources. Okay, so include all the areas in the company. And talking about values, you have to define the values that you will work with and describe or explain each of them, how you're going to develop these values in your employees or inside your company. As soon as you have these 2 activities done as a team, you're going to upload them in Schoology in the group. Just be careful to get into the group, and you will find the discussion that is called Objectives and Values, and you upload your work there. Thank you, guys, and if you have any questions, we can cover them on Friday.